I'm really excited about the landscape profession. And let me define the profession. I feel landscape architecture is just one very important characteristic of the... Sorry, I'll start again. I'm very excited about the landscape profession. We sit at the interface between people and place, between people and natural systems. We deploy the arts and the sciences, which is almost unique as a profession. And when I say sciences, the biological and social sciences are just as important. The landscape profession has been in the past very dominated by landscape architects, which are going to be an incredibly important profession in the future. But we have to admit that at any one moment in time, design is having about a 3% influence upon the state of this country. But this country is changing all the time. And the other 97% of this country are changing as a result of management interventions or policy interventions. Now, defining landscape policy, you need as much imagination and creativity as you do in terms of design, which is the traditional origins of our profession. So I see the landscape profession as all those who are managing and designing for change across the landscape science, landscape management, landscape design parts of our profession. It's a very complex profession because we touch so much. Everything we do as a profession is in the public interest. So that's an incredibly important point to make. My slight concerns about our education system is what I found when I took over as president, and this is now changing, and the board of trustees has recognized this. Too many of our universities were majoring on the arts at the expense of the sciences. And I think that had to be rebalanced, because it is critically important that we nurture that interface between people and place, between people and natural systems. Hence the fact that we can major on function. Too much of the expression of design leads you down to society thinking of you as a nice to have rather than a must have. And my belief is that we are in this unique position as a profession to resolve so many of society's problems now. I believe that if I started all over again, I'd join the landscape profession. I've got my eldest daughter is a landscape architect. My youngest daughter is doing a master's degree in soil science. My eldest son is a mushroom farmer and a worm farmer. And my middle son is all about urban regeneration. And so I'm afraid all my children have caught the bug as well. So I'm immensely excited for the future of the profession. I absolutely believe that if you're a geographer and then suddenly want to think of a profession to come into, landscape profession. If you're interested in psychology, actually there's a desperate need for you to join the landscape profession, because we can direct the mental health of people in terms of the opportunities we give society. We can create places for making friends for life. We can create places where you as an elderly person can feel safe and can meet other people. The whole health and well-being agenda we can support. We can support the whole restructuring of our towns and our cities. I talk about landscape infrastructure, not green infrastructure. Green infrastructure means different things to different people. But the landscape infrastructure is fundamental to the health and well-being of society.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well said. Yeah, definitely well said. I mean, there's such an interesting time to go into these professions, because there's a renewed vigour for collaboration as well, is something I've really noticed. I'm much more junior in my career, but we need to look much more at who we're aligned with than opposed to in our silos as we have done in the past. And that's why I think landscape is so integral, is we have a real vital role to play in bringing a lot of these other professions together and bringing in their expertise, because no one can do everything. And that's, you know, talking about the landscape professions, it isn't just landscape architecture or landscape management, there's also forestry and ecology, and, as you've said, farming, you know, all of these things have got to come in, and we've got to start collaborating more to regenerate this larger, at the scale that's needed.
Absolutely critical, absolutely critical. And I think our legislation in this country has been very driven by the planning process, which is all about development and change. And you can understand the economic arguments for that. But now I think we've reached a crossroads when we've got to start thinking about natural resource management and the management of invested in resources. So the whole recycling business. You know, how do we make places, modernize places? And it's about accepting that we've made an investment in a product that can be repurposed to meet the new agenda. And I remember a friend of mine, Colin Stansfield-Smith, who was the county architect in Hampshire, coming to me in the middle of the Building Schools of the Future programme, saying to me, Merrick, I need help because I'm always being asked to pull down perfectly good schools whereas I could repurpose them for a quarter of the cost of demolishing and rebuilding. And why was that? Because the political win of a brand new building prevailed over the need to manage already invested in infrastructure.
Well, I think it's a clear symptom of which affects our profession quite significantly, because the problem with the landscape is it's vast. So when you make changes on a vast scale, you may think, oh, it's going to be very obvious, but actually it isn't. A lot of the landscape interventions are not always that clear, and sometimes for generations. And that's part of the problem. It's a very difficult, SUDs are a good example. The government want to put in big engineering projects for a big win, but actually the benefit of something like sustainable drainage systems is huge in comparison, because it meets so many other societal targets. And over time, the impact on the city, way of life, public health, water quality will be significant. But actually it doesn't have that political win that people need. And that's one of the real challenges that we face as a profession, I feel.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And so building on this, on the education side of things, you've had a really, really significant role in the education world.